so undeniable, I can hardly speak. Peace so unexplainable, I can hardly think as you call me. Deeper still as you call me. Deeper still as you call me. Deeper still into love, love, love. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are, and I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are, and I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are, and I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. Thank you.
Today's reading is from Chon Song-gyong, Book 4, Chapter 1, Section 2, Verse 17. The mind is your second God. That second God, the mind is always with you. It relates from deep in your conscience, from within the depths of love, life, and lineage. It is ever cleansing and removing anything impure, resolving your inner problems and guiding you to a higher place in life. And second, and from Philippians 4 verse 8, finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, sorry, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things.
Good morning, everyone. How are you this morning? Good. So, actually, the title of the message today is The Power of Positive Thinking in Relationships. So it's not the message you heard 2 weeks ago, which is the one that's in your bulletin. So just want you to know, this is going to be a unique message this morning, The Power of Positive Thinking in Relationships. And we are in the midst of the first month of this year, and we're also gearing up for our celebration of Heavenly Parents' Day, when we take time to begin this year with God. And I'm sure many of you, hopefully also inspired by the message 2 weeks ago from Pastor Nao Kimi, have made some goals for this year, right? Anyone make a New Year's goal to improve a relationship with someone? A spouse, a child, a parent, a friend. Anyone make a goal like that? Okay, lots of us have made that goal. And it's not too late. You can still make that goal to improve a relationship with someone in your life. And today's message is going to empower you to be able to fulfill that goal, to be able to work on those most precious relationships that you have in your life that you might be struggling with, or you might be challenged by, or you just want to just bring it to a new level. And we're going to focus on the power of positive thinking to take these relationships into a new dimension, into a new way than they've been before. And so I want to invite you right now to actually just close your eyes. Go ahead and close your eyes and take a cleansing breath. And release it. and just let God know that my mind and my heart is open. And I'm open to changing my thinking today. All right, and when you're ready, you can open up your eyes again. So, how many of you believe that your thoughts create your reality? Raise your hand. Awesome. And you're not alone in this. Great thinkers, great religious leaders, social leaders, leaders of every type throughout human history have emphasized this truth, that our thoughts create our reality. And there's also a lot of very happy and very successful people that are alive today that affirm this truth. In fact, if you ask some of the most successful people in any part of the world, they'll say that one of the keys is their ability to think positively about themselves, about what's possible for them, what's possible in the world, and that they have this sense, or they have this strong belief that I can do incredible things, that I am good, and good things happen to me, and I make good things happen. And they keep their mind in the realm of positivity. Now let's turn our attention to God for a minute. Do you think God is a pessimist or an optimist? Optimist. If we think about God, even just reflecting on the song we heard earlier, it's been a challenging course for God over these last 6,000 years. God, as our heavenly parent, our creator, has had the biggest hopes, the biggest dreams, a longing desire for every human being to experience the fullness of love, the fullness of joy, to fulfill their greatest potential. And yet, God has seen human beings hurt themselves and hurt others and experience all kinds of challenges throughout history. Yet God has never, ever, 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 ever given up on humankind. And God, our heavenly parent, always believes in each and every one of us. God sees the best in us, the absolute best, because we're his and her children. When God looks at us, sure, God may know all of our inadequacies, our mistakes, the things that we're not doing right, but God focuses on our incredible potential that we were created with and looks at all the good things that we're doing and focuses on our positive thoughts and on our loving hearts and relates with that aspect of who we are and continues to nourish that and encourage that and empower us to be those people that we were created to be. And God continues to invest in humankind and believe that we can experience this kingdom of heaven on earth that God's envisioned from the very, very beginning and has worked through countless central people throughout history to bring about the fulfillment of this dream. So God is definitely an optimist. God is definitely a positive thinker and putting positive energy, putting a positive mindset out into the world. And we're striving to be like God, right? I think most of us here would say we may feel like it's a long way off, or we may feel we have a long way to go, but we want to be like God. We want to have that same kind of love as God has. We want to have that same belief. We want to have that same optimism and inspiration and energy to do anything we put our mind to. and to be fully present in our lives and to reach our fullest potential and to love other people with the deepest love that we possibly can. We're striving for that. And we know we are created in God's image. We are the sons and daughters of our heavenly parent. So all of those attributes, all of those positive characteristics that are in our heavenly parent, we have that potential within us. Every single one of us. No matter what has gone on in the past or what we may be facing now, we have the ability to be the embodiment of God in our lives. And we are striving for having those most loving kinds of relationships with the people in our lives. Most of us know that our spouses are a son or daughter of God, right? We know that cognitively. And most of us know that our children are the children of God. We know that, right? Yes. And we know that our siblings are the children of God. And as children, we know that our parents are the children of God and have this potential that I was describing before. And we know that as God's representatives, we're the ones to convey God's love to our spouses, our children, our siblings, our parents. But in reality, most of us struggle to do this. Am I alone in this struggle? Or are other people struggling too? I think most of us struggle with at least a few individuals, and probably the ones that are closest to us, to really express this love of God, to be this embodiment of love to the people that are in our lives. The good news is that God has given us mechanisms to help us to think positively, to help us to embody this thinking of God. And we have our original minds, or our consciences, and we also have a lot that's been developed through the field of psychology. There's been a lot of scientific research done now that proves that we can change our thinking. We can train ourselves to think in a different way than we're thinking right now. We are not fixed. We are not fixed. Our habits, our thoughts are not stuck. We are not doomed. Just because our parents thought a certain way does not mean that we have to think the same way. We can think differently. And research is showing this to be true again and again and again. And that optimism is a learned way of thinking. No one is going to be doomed to be a pessimist for the rest of your life. So in case you were worried, or in case you're saying, well, you can talk about positive thinking all you want, Pastor Crescentia, but I am a pessimist through and through, I'm here to tell you that even you can become an optimist. But you have to choose it, and you have to work on it. But all of us can change our thinking if we make the decision to. So let's focus on the original mind for a moment here. This concept of original mind is a unique expression of our true parents. This is a unique understanding that especially our true Father has brought into this world. Now, it resonates with an understanding that many religious figures have, which is if you want to change your action, it starts with your thoughts. And it starts with your inner self, that you have to let your thoughts direct your actions. What True Father helps us understand is that our original mind is our closest connection to God. It's the voice of God that's always in us. Can we escape our thoughts? No. Anybody try to escape your thoughts? We may try to escape our thoughts because sometimes they're not helpful and they're not really supporting us or allowing us to live the kind of life we want to live. But we can't escape our thoughts. Our thoughts are uniquely ours. Our mind is always active. And what True Father's pointing us to is we have an original mind and we have a fallen mind or a negative mind. What we want to do is cultivate this original mind. No matter how bad someone might be, no matter how many things people have done that are not God's will or have taken people away from God, that original mind is still there. It might be weak because it's not being invested into, it's not being listened to, but that original mind is there. And for those of us that are striving to be like God, that are striving to live a life that brings God joy, that comforts God, that inspires God, that contributes to creating a better world, for those of us who have that desire, our original mind is very strong and very accessible to us. And even if we're making mistakes, but we have that intent, we have that desire, that original mind is there. And God will speak to us through our original minds. That original mind is the voice that says, even though your brother just took your favorite game and played with it without asking, still love your brother. Our original mind is the one that's telling us, even though you're so tired and you just worked a whole day, go and serve your spouse. Give them a little back massage. Our original mind is the one that's telling us, even though you're tired, wake up and read some Hundoke. Read some God's words to get your day started well. Our original mind always guides us to do what is right, to do what is good, to do what is loving. It's that niggling voice that we can't get away from, but that's actually attempting to help us to be the people that we want to be, to respond to God's love, to respond to God's words, God's directions for us. And the more we listen to that mind, the stronger it becomes. And the more that it's going to help us in thinking positively. And the more positively we're thinking, the easier it is to take the sometimes hard but positive action that needs to be taken. To tap into this mind, we want to strengthen our daily spiritual diet. So we want to pray, we want to study the scripture, we want to serve others and find ways of how can I make other people's lives more enjoyable? You know, how can I make other people really feel happy and feel loved? When we do those kinds of things, you know, if we're giving of our finances towards higher goods, higher purposes, you know, any of these daily spiritual practices strengthen that original mind. When we meditate, when we kind of quiet ourselves and we just focus inward, then we can tap into this original mind. We can also gain support in changing our thinking by applying the findings of a newer area of psychology called positive psychology. I was really inspired when I came across this in high school. I was in a psychology class and we got to pick a topic that we wanted to research. And I wanted to find out if psychology supported, you know, religious ideas, supported spiritual concepts. And then I came across positive psychology. And one of the key champions of this area is a man by the name of Dr. Martin Seligman. What's awesome about this field of psychology is that the it believes that we can, instead of focusing on fixing the problems and dwelling on those problems and correcting those problems, correcting those issues, which is a normal approach that psychology takes, positive psychology focuses on building up strengths and virtues and empowering people to have the tools they need to face the challenges or to face the struggles that might be in front of them. Dr. Seligman expresses that positive psychology's aim is to catalyze a change in psychology from a preoccupation only with repairing the worst things in life to also building the best qualities in life. Essentially, through scientific research, he can give evidence-based tools to help people change their thinking from a negative mindset to a positive mindset and gain the power to make changes in their life or to change the way they're relating with other people. And positive thinking is defined by psychologists as a mental attitude in which you expect a good and favorable result. So in other words, it's the process of creating thoughts that transform energy into reality. So taking even a situation that might appear negative or appear problematic and applying thoughts to that situation that would give the possibility for something good to happen. Choosing to believe that something good can happen, some change can take place. Or even to think in your mind, you see someone who's doing something bad and you say, they are a good person who can do good things. All of us have people in our lives that challenge us. And most of the time, those people are our closest family members. So it's interesting how God does that. Puts the people into our lives that are going to help us to grow and are going to help us to expand our character, expand our love. And probably it's also because we get to know them better than anybody else does. So we see them at their best and we see them at their worst. And we have to interact with them day after day after day. And in those situations, it can be easy to start to focus on the negative. The things that are frustrating you, or the things that are hurting you, that the person might be doing or not doing. Or to focus on what they say they're gonna do this, but then they're actually doing this. And you focus in on the negative qualities or the negative things that are happening. And it's understandable because it's right there in front of you. But the challenge for us that want to have good relationships with the people in our lives is to choose to look for the good and to focus on the good and to pay more attention to those precious moments that you have where they are expressing love. And you choose to focus in on that and to embrace that love. Embrace that moment of kindness or compassion or understanding or thoughtfulness, that's coming from that individual in your family. And even when they let you down or they do something that you feel angry about or you feel sad or whatever it might be, or you're disappointed because you wanted better for them, you choose to use that as an opportunity to see, okay, how can we even make this better? This is just a chance for us to grow closer or to learn more about each other or to develop new aspects of my character and your character through this interaction. I want to give some tips for how to apply positive thinking, but in order to get the most out of these tips, I want you to hone in on one person in your life. So I need everybody to close your eyes again. And take a moment to think about somebody that you love, somebody that you care about, but is also challenging for you. Someone that you wish you could have a better relationship with. And focus your mind on this person. And then think about, what is it? What's happening in this relationship that's challenging for you? Are they doing something? Are they saying something? Are they not doing something? And when you start to think about this person, what feelings come up? How do you feel when you're thinking about this person? What emotions come up? And before opening your eyes, just take a moment to acknowledge and affirm that you want to improve your relationship with this person. That you want to have a more loving, more connected relationship with this person. And you can open up your eyes. Now, there are some tried and true, tested tips for practicing positive thinking. For me, the person that I love the most and the person that challenges me the most is probably not surprising to you. It's my spouse. It's my husband. And I'm constantly wanting to have a better relationship with him. I love him so much, and I also find myself sometimes going, God, why did you give me this person? How do I love this person more? How do I deal with this situation? I'm sure I'm the only one who's in that situation. I'm sure there's nobody else. Okay. I think for a lot of us, those challenging people are our spouses, our children, our siblings, our parents. So for me, I'm constantly looking and asking God, or how can I make this relationship stronger? How can I be more loving towards my husband, especially when I'm struggling with different aspects? And my number one technique is prayer. Again, because I want to tap into my original mind. And I want to be able to think about my husband in the way that God thinks about my husband. And feel towards my husband what God feels towards my husband. And I'm using him as an example. And there's other people too that I'm working on relationship with. So, for the one you're thinking of, how often are you praying for this person? Could you be praying for them more? And when you pray, how do you pray? God, please change them. Please make them better, more loving, more serving, less selfish. Thank you. It's a way to pray. Might work. But another way to pray for someone that you may be challenged by is to actually ask God to bless them. God, please bless this person. Please let this person feel your love. Please strengthen them, support them, encourage them. Help them to see a new possibility for themselves. God, let good things happen to them. Let them receive what it is that their heart is longing for. And just when you pray, praying in the positive, praying for the good for that individual. And pray and pray and pray again. Pray every day, or even right after you've had a fight or you've had a struggle with this person, pray for them. and send positive energy, send positive thoughts, send love through the prayer. This can have a profound impact because actually when we pray, we're thinking. When we pray, sometimes we're actually speaking, out loud. And if you say positive words, if you think positive words towards someone day after day or many times a day, that is going to change the way you think and relate to that person. And the energy of loving them coming through the prayer is going to be felt by them. As opposed to, change my awful husband, right? That prayer might not help you to think more positively about your husband. But a prayer of, God, I love my husband. Let my husband feel my love. God, let my husband feel your love. God, give my husband the strength to work on that, to be able to overcome that struggle that he's going through. You're going to change the way you relate to that person. Another really important element is to focus on the good. Focus on the good. So, even in situations that are very, very difficult and very challenging, where someone is going through a very tough time or they're kind of only able to focus in on themselves or they're very distant or whatever it might be, there's always good things that you can find. Always. Because no one is entirely bad or entirely good. No one is, I've not yet, I should say, come across someone who's really out to get somebody else all the time. And as I think in families, we can start to feel that way. But always there are good things, and maybe even if it's not in that particular moment, there's good and loving and compassionate and thoughtful experiences and moments that you can draw on. And particularly when you're struggling, we have to make an extra effort to point out these things in our mind and to notice them. To say, wow, it's so great that they made the bed this morning. It's so nice that they did the dishes after the meal. Or, wow, they were on the phone with their friend, and it was so encouraging what they said to their friend. It was so loving what they said to their friend. Or, wow, my spouse is helping out at the church, and taking care of other people. So it doesn't always have to be what they're doing for you, but it could even be for others. But to look for the good. Or even though my child doesn't really like school, they're really investing themselves in their math class. And they're doing really good at their math class. And better than even just thinking about the good things is to say something related to those good things, is to speak it out loud and offer it as a compliment or offer it as praise to the other person. And to thank them and to say, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. Or I'm so proud that you did this. Or it really inspires me how you relate with your friend. And to actually let the person know the good thing that you've thought about in relation to them. If we take a moment to think about it, when we are struggling with someone, most of the time, we start talking less to that person. Because we don't want to be mean. We don't want to be a nag. We don't necessarily want to bring them down, but we are thinking negative things, so we just stop talking. And sometimes we actually don't even realize that we're letting these negative words slip out. When we're disappointed, we're kind of, well, why didn't you do that? Or you never help with this. Or you really let me down. And of course, sometimes we do need to express these things. But if that's all they're hearing from me, how are they going to Do they feel that I love them? Do they feel that I want to have a better relationship with them? Probably not. If that's all they're hearing, even if I'm thinking good things, even if I want to have a good relationship, even if I do believe that there's a lot of goodness in them, they don't believe that. From me anyway, because that's not what I'm expressing. So our words really matter. Our words really matter. And even if we think 10 negative things towards someone else, and we don't say them, and instead we choose to say one good thing, that one good thing could bring you and that person closer together. And could give that person some energy and some power to do that good thing again. And to become that better person. That's the power of positive thinking and positive words. And sometimes it's really hard because there's just so many things that seem to be piling up that are negative. So you really have to fight for it. And even if it's one tiny thing, like, thank you for bringing your dish to the sink. Thank you. I appreciate that. Say that one thing. Say that one thing. And then keep looking for all the different ways that you can speak more positively. And you'll be surprised because the more positive things you're conveying, the more positive things you start to see. And that you may not have noticed before. Even though it felt like 10 negative things were happening, you might start to realize, wow, there's actually a lot of positives going on here. You're creating the space for positive interaction. You're creating the space for positive change. So focus on the good. Again, Dr. Seligman says, when we take the time to notice the things that go right, it means we're getting a lot of little rewards throughout the day. So you're positively encouraging, you're rewarding that person, but actually you're rewarding yourself. Because if your goal is to have a better relationship with that person, and you're noticing good things in that other person, that's going to change the way you feel about them. That's going to change that relationship. This is kind of along the same lines, but I just want to emphasize it. Again, so it starts with the thinking, looking for the positive, looking for the good, and then don't forget to express it. When you hear me say something like this, my child never picks up his clothes, never puts them in the hamper. My child doesn't care about me. My child is selfish. How do you feel? Pretty bad, right? Now, what if I say this? My child is working on getting the clothes into the hamper. Once a week, the clothes get into the hamper. This is great. How do you feel? Smiling. Even if you know, wait, aren't there 7 days in a week? You're still encouraged by it, right? It's that difference. Never, we tend to take for granted the use of words like cannot or not capable, never, always. Those kinds of words have like a ultimatum in them. Is there possibility for change in those words? Not much. It doesn't leave much room if we label someone in that way. Whereas if we shift the words we use to, they have what it takes. They can do it. They're working on it. They're making progress. I believe in them. It shifts what's possible. So if you find yourselves using negative words, first you have to notice it. Then try as often as you can to replace the negative with a positive. Anyone use positive affirmations? Anyone use positive affirmations? You may already be doing it and not even know you're doing it. This is one of the most common exercises for changing your thinking to positive thinking. And it involves repeating a phrase, a positive phrase, over and over and over again, sometimes multiple times a day. Like, my spouse is a caring person. My child is a good student. My sibling is a good friend. My parent has wisdom. Some kind of phrase that's positive to help you to start to think differently about them. And you literally repeat this phrase again and again, multiple times throughout the day. You might even put it on a wall where you can see it, and it just reminds you about the positive thought that you want to have towards this other individual. I do this a lot. It helps me, if I'm struggling with someone, to just focus on one positive aspect and really emphasize that. And the thing is that if you say something enough, if you think something enough, it's going to change the way that you think about that person. And it's going to change the way you relate to that person over time. The last thing I want to mention is to use your imagination and visualize. Visualizing the type of relationship that you want to have with someone. No matter what state it's in right now, or what state it's been in the past, even if it's been really great in the past and it feels like it's really struggling right now, it's creating a new possibility for that relationship. So if you and your spouse aren't talking very much, and you're not connecting so much, and if you connect with each other, it's kind of, negative how you're interacting. But what you want is to be connected, and you want to feel close, and you want to feel really loved by your spouse, really cared for by your spouse. Then imagine what that relationship would look like. How would you talk to each other? How would you be with each other when you're in a room together? What would you say? What would you say about this person to other people when you're talking about that? And just think about all the good things, every aspect, all the good that you want to have for that relationship. If it's with a child, the same thing. A friend, a sibling, and just visualize that relationship. So we're going to do this to close up our sermon. So if everybody, again, one more time, close your eyes. Go back to that same person that you identified. And now visualize what kind of relationship you want to have. How do you want to relate? What do you want to be saying? What do you want to be doing? And just dive into it fully. And how do you feel? How do you feel when you're thinking about that? How does it make you feel? Let yourself feel those emotions of this incredible relationship. Now you can open your eyes, and you can come back to that vision as many times as you want. And if you really are making this goal to improve this relationship, write it down. Write down this visualization. Draw this visualization. Put an image of you and that person hugging or having a really great conversation. Put it somewhere where you can see it and remind yourself of what you're striving for. When you visualize this, it motivates you. It gives you the chance to say, I know that that's possible because I can think about this being a possibility. And then take it one step further and say, I believe that this can happen. And take it even one step further and remember that what you want is what God wants. And more. What you're conceiving of is just a smidgen of what God conceives of for that relationship, for you and that person. So if you start tapping into God's vision for that relationship, you crack the possibilities wide open for what's going to happen in that relationship. And you let in so much energy and so much power and so much strength. And what happens? What happens if you create and start, or if you start working on it even, but what happens if you fulfill that? Does that person benefit? Does that person get happier? Are they going to be happier if they're feeling loved and they're feeling cared for and they're feeling, wow, I can give something to this person and they're happy? If you're having a great relationship with someone who's close in your family, what happens? You become more joyful. You become more confident. You have more to give to the people around you. So investing in that one relationship can have ripple effects in ways that you can't even know yet, that are going to positively impact the world around you. Much bigger than you can imagine. But it's going to be the day-to-day, moment by moment, prayer by prayer, word by word. And all those little things over time are going to add up. And God is going to be inspired. And God is going to be comforted. And God is going to feel love. And God is going to feel hopeful. And say, wow, my children are so good. And this world is getting better because of the choices that you're making to think differently and act differently in relation to this one person. So brothers and sisters, are you ready to start thinking more positively? Are you ready to start thinking more positively? Are you ready to transform your relationships? I do. Let's do it. God bless you.